Hi, good evening. Welcome to a Barmy Army podcast number 42. Before we begin, I don't know if we're going to have as much excitement as we did last week with everyone coming in and out. I think tonight we're just going to have to settle for the three of us. As you can see, I'm joined by Iain and Matt. Before I get on to you two, I just want to send a message out to everyone who hopefully is watching or rewatching this under the new stricter guidelines in the UK. If anyone is struggling or they just want to reach out to any of us at the BA, send us a DM or on Twitter or Instagram, and we'll make sure someone gets back to you. Just check in, because we'll get through this together. Right, how you both doing? Let's start with Iain for a change.
Yeah, good time. Yeah,
good. Oh, that was short and sweet. Thanks for that. That's wasted all of 5 seconds. We're going to struggle now for the rest of the 55 minutes. Matt, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, been a bit of an emotional roller coaster for the last couple of days. But yeah, just echo what Marc's just said. If you are struggling a bit, as a lot of people are, just talk to someone. Trust me, speaking from personal experience, it helps a lot.
Yeah, it does. It does. And after we are here. Right, we've got some hellos. Hi, John. Hi, Marty. Hi, Debs. And hi, Iain. Oh, that's weird. Right. Tonight, it's very simple. We're going to talk about the game on Sunday and also some other things. But Sunday is the main part of the conversation, I think, for tonight. Right. So we're coming back off the Christmas/winter break, whatever people want to call it, and we're playing at Walton Hall Park on Sunday against Everton. Is this going to be our biggest game of the season so far, Matt?
I think the biggest game of the season is next week. But I think it is definitely going to be important because, as you rightly say, we haven't played for 3 weeks. So there is a danger that, the players aren't going to be perhaps 100% match fit. The John Fry's just put in the comments, is the game cancelled yet?
Not yet.
Give it time, John. Give it time.
Yeah.
It does always seem to happen when we go there, doesn't it? But yeah, I think... it is definitely going to be important. We went into the break on a massive high, obviously with the 6-1 over Bristol City. So I think it is really important that we do start well and get a good result.
Yeah. Now, we are going into this in great form, as you say, Matt. In the league, we've not lost our last 5 league games. Obviously, we're unbeaten this season, but as the league, we're unbeaten in the last 5. Everton have obviously lost their last 2 in the league. They obviously beat us in the Conti Cup. But interestingly, because I've done my homework for this tonight, I've actually got notes. I've been professional. Everton haven't scored a league goal since November. Now, Iain, you and I have been very lucky to be at all the Everton games, 2 at Southport and the one at LSV and the one at Wally Hall Park last season. We do like playing Everton, and I've seen Jake just come into the comments, so I'm going to mention obviously Southport. We do like playing them, and if Shane was in here as well, he'll tell you that we like playing Everton and scoring 3 goals. But this season, we've played them in the Conti Cup in this season, and we lost 1-0. The game was, I think I can say it this way, awful. It's not the words I would like to have used, clearly, but this is pre-Watershed. It was awful. And for the people who were in that watch-along, did anyone actually watch the game? Because I can't remember if anyone did. I think we're all too busy having a laugh.
Yeah.
So, Iain, Iain, is this game good, big, because it potentially could give us momentum going in for Chelsea?
It's really important, yeah. And as Matt said, we've come off a really good end to 2020. You want to start 21 strong. Look what happened to us at the beginning of 2020. We had Bristol at home, and we got beaten. We can't allow that to happen. If we are serious in wanting to challenge for the league title, we have to go there and get 3 points.
Yeah.
I personally think the League Cup result was a disservice to us. I thought we had more than enough to win it, and we should have won it. We just couldn't put the ball in the net.
Okay.
So, as long as we go there with the correct attitude and take our chances, that's, again, the key thing. Take our chances. I think we'll be fine on Sunday. We should win.
Okay, just going to go through some of the comments in here. John Fry says it's our biggest game of the season. Definitely, we need to be on the ball, which is something that I kind of alluded to earlier. Marty has said we lose focus and hand the game to Everton. Exactly, we can't. We have to be on it, and we can't be looking ahead to the Chelsea game either. And Jake's obviously giving us a bit of early team news. Not sure whether Govan will be back. They lack firepower without her. Just need to keep doing what we did in December. Professional job. Ian, obviously the Conti game. Neither team had anything to play for. It was, as people would call it, a done game. I think what upset me was the style of the defeat. There was no I would say intensity from us. And I think that would have probably upset Casey a bit more. See, he's just nodding.
Yeah, well, Casey thought it was a good performance from what I remember. She was just annoyed that we didn't score. We had a effort from Jane ruled out for just being a little bit over physical in the box.
Oh yeah, Jake.
You're right though. In my personal opinion, it wasn't a great game for us. It really wasn't. If we play like that again, we will lose. So, but I don't think Casey will allow that type of performance again. We know what she's like.
No, and on one of the points in you always make, and I'm going to let Matt answer this for it once because you always make the same point. So I want to get someone else's perspective on it. You always say, Ian, that we always start badly when we come back from a break, be that an international break or whatever.
Yep.
So that can't happen surely on Sunday. We can't allow to come back and do what happened, as Ian said, against Bristol last season.
And the other thing that I think is worth pointing out with the way that the fixtures were worked out this weekend, although as things stand we're 4 points clear, Arsenal, assuming it goes ahead, play before us. Their game, which I believe is against Villa, is on Saturday. So by the time we kick off, our league could be down to a point. So I think that in itself should focus the players' minds to think, right, we need to be on it. Otherwise, Arsenal and potentially Chelsea as well are right on our tails here. And I think Ian is right that, when we've come off a break, I think particularly as there have been seemingly more than ever this season, we haven't quite been on it, but we do need to make sure that that doesn't happen this time. And of course, looking back to last season when we played them at LSV, we started slowly and they punished us.
True. So before we get into the team and and everything else, if I were to offer you both gentlemen right now a point at Everton, would either of you take it?
No.
No.
Okay. So it's either win or lose. You're happy for that to happen then?
I want to win. But
okay.
I don't want to. If you were to offer me a point before the kickoff, I won't take it. But I will take a point at the end of 90 if the performance has been one of those where we've hung on or we've battled back, then a point in those such situations, you know, we're lucky to take a point. You know, we want the point. But I would never go into a game like this hoping for a point. I would be hoping to come out with 3 points.
Okay, so Matt, you also said no. Why would you not take the point?
Because if we want to, you know, finish in the top, I've said this from, you know, the start of the season. If we want to finish in the top 3, or I hesitate to mention it, but finish even higher, we have to take as many points as possible from the teams that finished below us last season. We've got a 100% record in those games at the moment, but whether it's Arsenal, Chelsea, City, you will hardly see them drop any points in those games. They just routinely win them. And if, yes, we have a very good record in the games against our direct rivals, but that will only do us so much good if we don't win the other games routinely, as the other top sides do. Okay.
Just before I come on to a second point of that question, we'll just go through some of the comments we've got in. Apparently, Iain is a cheesehead. Jake said, I think we're playing Everton at a good time. They faded as the season has gone on. We're in fine league form. Correct. And then in answer to what I asked you, John very adamantly was no. Deborah was don't accept a point. Johnny is win, win, win. We need to win all of our games. Draws, no, no, no. Win, 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 we must. And then Marty's agreed with you, Matt. We need 3 points from Everton. Jake has then said we're a better side, should do enough, even if it's just a single goal or a late winner against Reading. I agree. I'm not saying I would take a point. What I'm saying is, if the worst were to happen and we lost that game, going into the Chelsea game, you would want something positive to come out of the Everton game. I'm not saying we're going to lose. I'm talking about the word that Matt used before, momentum. You want momentum going into that Chelsea game. And a point is better than a loss. Because, as we all know, anything can happen in the WSL teams. Bristol, last season, I can't remember. Jake will tell me in a minute. Jake, what were Bristol's stats going into the game against us? I don't think they'd won a game.
No, I think they only had like a couple. I think it was very similar to what they are at the moment. They only had like 2 or 3 points.
So they hadn't won a game, and we'd all got really excited that we were going to beat them 5-0, 6-0, 10-0 even. And what happened? They beat us.
I think that was actually the only game they won.
Yeah, quite possibly.
It's the game that kept them up.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying Everton are going to get relegated. What I'm saying is that surely you want something out of that game, be it a point or a win, but you don't want a loss. So when I offered you the point, I was looking at the worst case side of things, not the best side. But anyway, right. So we're going to go and win. I think we'll win, as long as the game's not called off or anything else, because God knows it might be right now. We don't know.
Dodgy goal mouth, dodgy pitch, too windy.
Yeah, something will happen at Everton. It always does. Let's talk about the team then for Sunday. We're not going to do a lineup because I'll leave that with everyone else to do. Because we've got a week in between Sunday to Sunday, I presume. Iain, you were wrong. Jake as normal. They beat Birmingham afterwards, but it kick-started their survival.
Okay.
John's saying 3-0 win would be perfect. Could be curd off for bird droppings on the pitch. It's Everton.
Who knows for them?
Who knows? Are we going to go out and play our strongest 11, or is Casey maybe looking ahead to the Chelsea game?
Strongest 11 for me.
Yeah. Okay. For me, always go strong.
Okay. No, I agree. I'm just trying to spark up conversation, that's all. And What a terrible job I'm trying to do with that tonight.
We're killing it so dead.
When you've got a week off and you've not played for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, you need to go out there with your first 11 and get them in the minutes. Okay, there might need to be some substitutions in the second half because of tired legs, because obviously they've not played. But I would start if everybody's fit, play the strongest starting 11. I know we won't have Alessia still. Kristen might be available now. So, apart from having Alessia available, we've got pretty much everybody else fit.
Right. We were going to talk about this later, but we might as well talk about it now then. Evening Namarata. Right, let me just go through some of these before we get onto it. Strongest 11, always strongest 11, strongest 11. Thanks, John. Thank you so much. And Jay, I think we're going to the strongest, not this time for the rotation. Right. You mentioned the word Kristen. We might as well talk about it. The news coming out before we went on is that the US National Training Camp squad has been announced, and Tobin and Kristen have opted to stay in Manchester. While our rivals from the blue end, Sam Mewis and Rose Lavelle or Kathleen or whatever anyone calls her, they're going out, or they're staying out in the States because they went back for Christmas. Iain and Matt, you're both here, so I'm going to ask you both. What does that kind of, what are you feeling from that?
Obviously delighted that we've got Tobin and Kristen available for the rest of this month, particularly, with that Chelsea game on the horizon. You want your strongest side. And also, let's not forget, it's not just a case of them going over for camp, which I'd question the wisdom of anyway, but they will almost certainly have to quarantine once they come back. Yep. Plus, there is the She Believes Cup, which I assume is still happening in February. So it wouldn't just be a case of us being without them for, a week or however long the camp is. It's likely that we would be without them for a good few weeks. So, it is obviously fantastic news for us that they will both be there. And quite interesting that the US manager, however the heck you pronounce his name, said that, as you've just said yourself, they were invited to join up with the camp, but they chose not to. Well, I assume Sam Mewis and Rose Lavelle went over to America for Christmas, and they've simply decided to stay over there for the camp. That is quite interesting. I don't want to spark any gossip, but I have heard a few rumblings that all is not well there, particularly with Rose Lavelle. I've noticed she doesn't seem to have featured as much, but I think it's definitely a big blow for them that they'll be without Sam Mewis, because I think she has been one of their key players so far. And with how tight it is in that, top four, having a player like that not available for an extended period of time could be absolutely crucial. Before I come on to Iain, good evening, John. Good evening, John Neville. John Fry's put, to me, proves they both love us and want to succeed with us. I couldn't agree with him more. Marty's agreeing with you, Matt. It could be well without 2 months. Yeah. Jake saying, love the commitment, such an important part of the season, and they realise that. She believes he's held during the international break. Yeah, and, the February international break that takes place in. Jessica said, Sam and Rose had it in their contracts to attend January camp. Tobin and Kristen didn't have to. And then Marty's come back and said it was in the contract they've selected, they were allowed to attend. Right. She believes, Iain. My understanding, and we'll get on to the highlight bit. It's not a UEFA sanctioned or FIFA sanctioned event. Am I correct in that?
the She Believes is a sanctioned tournament because it's held in a window. It's the January camp that is not a sanctioned FIFA window, thus does not require players to be released from their clubs.
Right. Okay. So basically, they could get called up to She Believes. We don't think they will because they're not attending the camp.
My gut feeling is the reason why I think they've not gone is, one, Kristen's not gone is because she was ill before Christmas and she wants to get back into games. You know, they've got a couple of pointless friendlies against a really poor opposition in Colombia. So, you know, she's not going to get much out of that camp. And Tobin has obviously decided to stay put as well, even though she was invited. My gut feeling is she probably doesn't want to travel to the US at the moment. That could be another reason. She might have been invited, but she said, look, she's either going to be committed to United or it's a case she doesn't fancy the travel at the moment. We don't know. We all hope it's the commitment to United. She wants to see us do well. But yeah, there is no, obviously in the US, if you look at the squad that's been announced, I think only 3 players play outside the United States. 2 at City, 1 at PSG, I think. So I'm guessing they've got an agreement with their clubs to be released in January. But if you don't have that agreement, you don't have to release. As I said, not a FIFA-approved window. So that's why they do this camp in January, is because technically it's in the US off-season. All their players are normally available. It's just this year they've got a couple based abroad. So I'm glad they're staying put. You know, their experience is going to be critical, especially against Chelsea. But I'm still not sure that they will go back for the She Believes either. That's my gut feeling.
Okay. Just before we get back to Everton, just go through some of the comments. Namrata says they're shooing for the Olympic team anyway, so they need to go for camp. Marty seems to think they will be called up. Jake says, yeah, Jake, poor opposition. Watch Colombia now beat them 3-0. And then, presuming if Kristen's not going, I'm not going. That's a quote probably from Tobin. John, yeah, why put their health at risk going back to the USA? Absolutely. At a time right now, yeah, why risk it? Right, let's get back to Sunday. Let's get back to Everton. Are you both expecting a win, number 1? And are you both expecting a comfortable win, number 2? Iain, you're nodding, so you can go first.
Win, I'm expecting. Comfortable. When do we ever do anything comfortable? But, you know, before Christmas. We've always been a little bit nervous this season. You know, there's always been the nerves. So I expect us to win. I want to see a clean sheet again. You know, Millie and Amy are doing a fantastic job at the back. So clean sheet. It'll probably be 2-0, probably, and one of the goals will come late. It's probably not late, not like a Jake Lowe 89th minute late, but don't 1-0 at half time, and then we will score, you know, like 78th minute or something silly to wrap it up.
Just going back, just before we carry on with this, John Fry's just put a very interesting point in. Their decision could be the decision that makes our season complete, about Tobin and Kristen not going back to the States. And actually, it's a damn good point, because it could be that kind. They could be that, just what we need. Right, let's get back to it. Namrata says she's expecting a comfortable win. Debs is not comfortable, but a win. John obviously said 3-0. Jake, we usually score 3 goals, don't we? Would like to see that again. Not saying 6-0, but plus for this game, okay. Would love to see us take control from the first whistle. Absolutely. Marty wants a goal before half-time. I'll take a goal before half-time. Oh, God.
God.
Here it is.
There he is.
Jackie, imagine the scenes on the watch-along. Imagine the words coming out of Shane's mouth, Jake, is what I'm imagining right now. Not the scenes.
But probably words that we can't repeat on YouTube.
No, probably not. And actually, you would probably have to have the emergency services on speed dial for that if it did happen for Shane. If we beat them, and it's an if, because right now we don't know. Obviously, the game's not happened. If we beat them, are you confident we will finish in the top 3? I'm not going to say the other word, either of you. I'm going to say top 3.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I think if we get another winner, I think with how many games there are left, and I think if we win this game, then we will probably finish top 3.
Yeah. John says it would be wild in the on the watch along. It would be unimaginable. It would, because what we're doing with the watch alongs is we're taking the highlights of all the goal celebrations, we're putting them together for a little video package. What's funny about them, because I'm doing the editing of them, what's funny is that we're all out of sync. There's only very few games where we're literally all in sync with each other. So you'll get Iain, who's like 10 seconds behind me, or Matt, who's a minute and a half behind everyone else. So we're putting those together. Deb says, imagine the fan cams if Jackie scores. No, I don't really want to go there. And then the camera pans to Jane Ross's flag. Okay. John says, ask him after the Chelsea game whether we'll finish in the top 3. And he's right. Chelsea have got what, 2 games in hand?
Yeah. Which they play this month.
Yeah. And they've also got Champions League as well, haven't they? So they've got a bit of a fixture. And Conti Cup. They've got a bit of a fixture pile up.
And they've got something this weekend as well. They've got to go to Reading.
Yeah. Okay, so if you are saying we will be in the top 3, Debs has asked, who will be the other 2 teams in the top 3?
This is easy.
Oh, yeah. You see, now I like this confidence. I like this confidence from Iain, knowing he's going to say 2 teams. Go on. Who are you going to say?
Arsenal and Chelsea.
Okay. I think Matt's going a different way. I've just got a sneaky feeling.
I am, actually. I think Chelsea definitely. But I actually think City will get the 3rd spot, even though they're a little bit behind at the moment. Because this is the kind of thing I do when I have too much time on my hands. I've actually looked at the head-to-heads between the big 4 this season, and Arsenal are the only ones that haven't actually won a game between those 4 sides yet. So if I'm right and that proves decisive, then I think that is what will cost them. So I think it will be us and Chelsea top 2. Toss of a coin as to which way around at the moment. But I think City will get 3rd. Okay.
People are actually commenting on this. John Fry says Arsenal and Chelsea. Namrat is saying Arsenal might implode, but her bet is Arsenal and Chelsea as well.
Because again, I get the impression that with some of the comments that Joe Montemuro's made recently, that there are things aren't entirely going well behind the scenes at Arsenal.
No. Here's a now. If there's ever been a curveball thrown in, this is it from Marty. I think Everton is in there. I mean, if you're going to throw a curveball in, that's the one to throw in.
They're far too far behind. I know they're 6 points off 3rd at the moment. Played game more than Chelsea in 3rd. So Chelsea win one of their games in hand. That gap's 9 points, and we all know that 9 points in the WSL is huge.
Yeah, it is. Agreed, Iain. Jake's agreeing with you. Oh, God. What happens now? City will be hit and miss until the end of the season, if you ask me. I've not been impressed with City this season. I have to say, considering, in my opinion, and it is my opinion, they brought in probably the best right-back in probably women's game in Lucy Bronze. They also brought someone else back. Can't remember her name.
Right.
I've not been impressed with City. Obviously, Ellen White's been up and down and everything else, but I've not been impressed with them. Namrata says about what Marty said, Everton will have to get past Reading first, which is a tough game, as we know. So you make the point about there is a bit of unrest at Arsenal with ongoing issues, and we're not going to get into that because I don't think there's enough time on the podcast for us to get into all of that. So we've worked out the top three-ish. We just don't know in what order. There's an order we would all like, but I'm not gonna jinx it because we had this conversation on Sunday, and it actually brought most of us to tears. Marty's making this point. If City and Arsenal have player issues for January matches, couldn't that open for the door for Everton and Reading? There's a lot to do. I think there's a massive. Me personally, I think there's a massive gap to overcome to get into the top three for Everton and potentially Reading, but it's not impossible. Is the pitch, because we were all at Solihull Park last year, is that pitch going to be a factor on Sunday?
Well, at least now it's not going to be knee sliding on it.
True. It did, yeah, but that knee slide did take out one of the divots.
And added a few more.
And it added a few more, yeah, all right.
You know what? The pitch wasn't that bad. For a park pitch, it's not bad. The issue they have at Solihull Park always seems to be the goal mouths. We had to get delay in the Conti Cup game. There was delay in the WSL game before that. I don't know why they've not. They're using mobile goals. I don't know why they just don't stick some, proper goal mouth into the ground like every other reasonable club does.
But can I just interrupt you there, Ian? If I was to make a Manchester joke about Liverpoolians, you'd know what I was going to say. Why they use mobile goal mouth in case someone took them. But carry on. I won't say that.
We can't. We have to. The pitch there is actually not that bad. When we were there when was it? February?
Yeah.
A year ago almost.
Yeah, I didn't think the pitch was too bad. The issues I had was with the ground and the facilities and how it was being managed. That was the issues I had with Solihull Park. But I don't think the pitch was too bad. It's not been played on since that game against United. I think they were away before Christmas, weren't they? I can't remember.
It was pre-Christmas.
Pre-Christmas. I think they were away. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So that pitch has had 3 weeks to recover and be looked after. So there shouldn't be any issues with that, with the pitch. The weather forecast isn't that bad between now and then. So no excuses from the state of the pitch.
Okay. Just go through some of the comments. John wants to know, will the goals be fixed this time? Who knows?
Who knows?
John, they might be nicked if they're permanent. Those are not my words; those are someone else's. Jake said, "I've said this before, but for this to be a stadium they worked on and delayed open, it's shocking. Still one of the worst in the league. Just hope it's a dry day." And that's my point, because they've already put sand in the goal mouth to keep it dry. Anyway, so we'll just see. Right, I think we need to change subject. And Ian,
oh dear,
I can't let it go. We have to talk about it because Zoe last week in the last week's podcast kind of mic dropped it when she said, "Can you name the best referee in the WSL?" Now, Matt, you are an avid football goer. You go to as many matches as you can, and you know as well as I do that jobs of supporters, they only have 2 real jobs. The first is to support their team, and the second one is to take it out on the ref.
Correct.
Ian, you are a football fan, number one. You are also an ex-referee. So you kind of look at things with dual eyes. On the one hand, you look at it through the eyes of the fan. On the other hand, you will look at it through the referee's point of view, which is great for us because you tell us a referee's mindset, we tell you you're wrong, and we move on.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, very simple question to start off with. We're going to work into this one. Very simple question. Is the refereeing standard in the why is the refereeing, I'm saying an easy question. Actually, this is just another mic drop. Why is the refereeing standard so bad, Iain? Ooh, look at the sweat. You can see him sweating from here.
Yeah.
I'm not. The refereeing standard is the standard it is because that's what the FA are allowing it to be.
Okay.
You know, they are the ones appointing the officials to the games. You know, all of the referees in the WSL are in level 1 of the women's refereeing football pyramid.
Okay.
So they are the top official, well, the female officials, so I say, are in level 1, in tier 1, or group 1, of the women's football pyramid. So, you know, that is it. That's the pinnacle for them. If they referee in the men's game or referee in the men's game, it kind of equates to level 2, level 2B, level 2A, which is the top end of the National League. And I've always said this, you cannot have a professional league with part-time officials.
Okay.
It's not fair.
Okay. Now, Matt, you go to a lot of games when we could go to when we were allowed to.
Yeah.
Now, when we came out of lockdown, you went to, was it some national conference games?
Yeah, I've been to some Northwest Counties games, some games down here, and just before Christmas, I went to Crawley Town.
Okay. So the refereeing standard that you've seen through, we're not going to talk Premier League. I will bring the Premier League referees into the discussion, but the standards that you've seen in the lower leagues of the men's game compared to the WSL, where does it sit with you?
WSL's not much better, to be fair.
Right. Okay. Fair point. Right. Just going on to some of the comments. John Fry, it's not professional standard for the WSL, which you completely said, Iain. And Jake, Iain, fancy doing a few Brighton matches. You do a better job than most, if not all WSL refs. You say that, Jake, but let's face it. We know he would make a clanger, and it will be on him like that. My issue with WSL refs is that I don't think they're strong enough in giving cards. Now, I have done my homework, and we're going to play a little guessing game. Do you want to guess, as of Monday, so the 4th, how many yellow cards have been given out in the WSL this season?
Total? 18.
18 yellow cards. Okay. Jake, Matt, Iain? No, Matt. No, sorry. I don't know what's happened here.
I was going to say about 20. It's going to be a ridiculously low number.
Okay. Would either of you be surprised if I told you were nowhere near it?
No, I'll be honest.
If John Fry's right and it's about 7, no, I wouldn't.
No, it's not 7. 7. And it's not 20. Do you want to take another guess? I'm trying to kill minutes here. I'm not really.
Are we going up or down?
Hey, it's your guess. I can't tell you. I can't give you the lottery numbers. Just pick a number.
35.
I'll tell you what.
If I was going to go up, if I was going to say another number, I'd go up. So
okay. So you're saying 35. That's your final answer, Matt. Go on. He said 35. Go on. Commit, Iain.
47.
Right. The actual answer, as of Monday, was 122. Now, that surprises Matt, I can tell. Ian's there going, oh, actually, now when you consider it, it's not so bad. As of Monday, do you want to guess how many yellow cards have been given out in the Premier League? Now, again, more matches, more teams. So, yeah, take that into account.
VAR.
And VAR. Yeah. But if you're a United fan, VAR is your friend anyway, so it's fine. In certain cases.
True.
In the Premier League.
Premier League. 500.
Okay. Ian? We haven't got all night, and I want to watch it.
How many match weeks have we had in the Premier League?
I don't know. I don't count match weeks. I
think we're about halfway through now.
Yeah, so say 20.
About 800.
Oh my! Right. Can I actually say Matt was 13 away? It's 513.
Oh, wow.
Now, you can't obviously compare. You can't compare because, as you said, Ian, full-time refs against part-time refs who are not even part-time in that league. They're part-time from other leagues. Just so I can bring it out for you. In the Premier League, as of Monday, there's only been 23 red cards in the Premier League. Considering there's been 513 yellows, that's quite good. Yeah. In the WSL, how many reds?
About 6.
1, 2, 3. I was going to say that's going to be about 6 or 8.
Do you know what, Ian? You know when you went 1, 2, 3, you should have stopped and called it.
Because I was going to say it's that the red card in the Spurs Bristol game, Arsenal West Ham game, and what was the other one I remember? There was another red somewhere on. I can't remember. So they were the 3, and then I must have thought about last season then.
Right. So there's been 3 red cards in this whole season. Again, when you look at 122 yellows, 3 reds, for me, they're not strong enough. They'll quite happily give out a yellow, but they won't give out that second yellow.
We've seen so many times this season where a second yellow should have been given and it hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, if it's some of the challenges we've seen, like of Leah on the receiving end of,
and these are the points that I want to come on to. So let's look at some of the awful decisions that in the WSL. Right. We're going to start with you, Matt, because you wear it, your heart on your sleeve. You are a massive Zelly fan. You are a massive. You don't make any head. You don't mix it. You say, I like Katie Zell. Okay. Ian, you and I and Matt, we were all at Reading last year when that happened. Okay. Now, after that game, those players from Reading, there were also pundits who came out and said that standard of refereeing just isn't good enough. So, what has to happen here? What can happen here? Well, Matt, so let's start with you. You were at the game. You saw what happened. I think you actually stood near me, and I can't repeat the language you said, probably. But when you saw it, what were your thoughts on what she done?
Yeah, I wasn't entirely sure what had happened. I mean, one thing I do remember is trying to calm Anthony down before the stewards kicked him out because he was absolutely raging. I think my main feeling at the time was just bemusement, to be honest. And you can see Katie's reaction at the time. She's just sort of like this. What's happened? And the trouble is, very recent events have shown that absolutely nothing's changed because, you know, you've had Carla Ward recently come out and say the refereeing standard's not good enough, and she got fined for it.
Yeah.
And some of the journalists have said, you know, how are you going to change anything if that's what happens?
Mm-hmm. Just very quickly, hi Tashi. Right, let's go through some of the comments. People have been saying how many the guests and lots. Jake said 3. Jake got it spot on. 3 reds all season. Actually, secretly, I think Jake's becoming a little bit of a stato. He doesn't want to admit it, but he is becoming one. Iain, most times you would defend a ref. Most times you would defend a ref because it's professional courtesy. You were a referee. That's what you did. And you sometimes you will say, you will tell us the logic of what the referee's going through his mind. Now, that incident at Reading last season, when that happened, the one thing that, in my opinion, the ref should have done was go and speak to the lino. But the decision was already made. Now, interestingly, because you can see all the referee appointments and everything else, she's never refed one of our games again.
She has no. She's been a fourth official twice, but no, she's not been in the middle of a game since.
Right. So back to my question of what has to change for these referees to make better decisions. Is it as simple as becoming full-time and or training? It's
both. You know, you can't. If all these referees, if the pool that the WSL has this season, you know, the FA have admitted that said at the beginning of the season they had shrunk the pool of who they are going to appoint to WSL games and who they would appoint to Championship games. That pool size was reduced. But you couldn't, if you made all of those professional, you know, full-time referees today, you will still have all the issues that we currently have for the rest of the season and next season. Because training, again, is part of it. You know, the referees in the Premier League in Select Group 1, they have come up through the pyramids. You know, they all started on the parks, moved up through combination county leagues, onto the National League system, up through the National League system, into the EFL, from the EFL into the Premier League. You know, that's a lot of, you know, that's 15 years, you know, of learning and development and training. You can't get that overnight or in, you know, in a pace of 6 months. It doesn't happen. So it's a lot of training, and it will mean full-time officials will have to, you know, I know that is what the FA wants to get to, but again, they can only afford it when the revenue's there. At the moment, they can't afford it.
Okay, right. Jake says, I think next season when more people see the games with the new TV deal, which still hasn't been announced, these decisions will be taken more seriously, won't be allowed to happen for much longer. John is saying both, the same as you, Iain, that they both need to become full-time and better training. Let's look at two incidents. There was a game earlier in the season, I think it was a Brighton player was shown 2 yellow cards.
Yes.
And wasn't sent off. That's not down to training. That's purely... A referee has to know which player they've booked.
Yep.
So what we're saying is that they don't actually write...
That is just human error. That's just a human mistake.
Okay, you're cool. Okay, fine. And let's talk about the other one, which is more United. Like Matt, Iain, you make it abundantly clear Leah Galton is your favourite player. Abundantly clear. The game against Reading, the ref booked the first tackle. And every one of us in the watch-along were like, take this referee off the list. We like this ref. She's gone out, booked straight away. Then what happens in the second half? The Reading right back, the same player, makes a tackle on Leah from behind, which, according to the rules that I understand, is a booking anyway. Not only does she not get booked for it, or it could have been a straight red as well, we might just say that, nothing happens. Now, this goes back to the facts, the stats I gave out. Are the refs in the WSL afraid to give that second yellow?
We've seen it. We've seen it a few times. You know, we've seen it. Ashley Neville at Spurs, she should have been marched. You know, second yellow card. You know, I can't remember the Reading player's name, but let's be honest, she should have been booked if the first wasn't a booking, she should have been booked again later on. Because she should have given away a penalty if was it Kirsty decided to do the right thing in her eyes and stay on her feet.
Yeah, Kirsty Handsome.
Because that was a second yellow card all day long there as well. So that's two. There's been several occasions over the few years where we've seen second yellows not given. Then I look at LJ, who got second yellowed at Spurs last season for two petty offences. Whereas in these occasions, these were not petty. They were fouls. That, especially that tackle on Leah that wasn't even a free kick somehow. It was studs up on the ankle. It's a yellow card all day long.
Yeah. Now, just going through some of the comments. Hi, Max, by the way. As someone said, a top flight ref should get the WSL refs all together as times during the season to talk and give them advice. Yeah. We've just been talking about this, the right back's tackle on Leah. Correct, Jake. You should correct yourself. It's rumoured. There's nothing done yet. Sky. Sorry, got a cough. Jake was expecting a red card in that one too. So many challenges flying in. How Reading always gets away with it, he doesn't know. Marty makes the point of follow-through studs on Jackie's knee as well, and it was Leanne, according to Stato number 3.
What I will say quickly on refereeing decisions is if Sky do get the rumors if Sky gets the rights, I do not know what the FA will think when they might bring in a women's decision into Ref Watch on a Monday with Dermot Gallagher. Because he won't hold back on them, because he won't, if he doesn't think the referees have made the right decision, he will say that. That going back to that, we had Keith Hackett come out, we had Mark Halsey come out. There were so many ex-referees saying they couldn't understand the decision.
Okay.
And they all thought it was appalling. So if that type of coverage starts going on TV, that's going to force the FA's hand as well.
Yeah. And I'm not even going to get into the Abby Mack goal against City, because it was a goal and the referee should have taken advice from the line-out, or because obviously the ref couldn't see it. But anyway, someone once made the point to me that male referees are less likely to card the women players.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I do.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I do, and I've seen it. There are some referees that will still card, but I will go back to was it the United Arsenal game where there was that challenge by Women Moy, wasn't it, on Leah?
Mm-hmm.
Where everybody in the watch along, apart from me, thought it was a red.
And this is the point, that I've made a couple of times already. You look at it through ref's eyes when you see a tackle. You try to explain it to some of us. We know we don't usually agree because, as I said, a footballer's supporter's role is to support your club, get on the back. No one ever. Have you ever come out of a game, Matt, and gone, God, the referee had a good game today?
Never.
Right. So that.
And I've been watching football for 25 years.
Yeah. So these decisions that the referees are making, they're changing games. No one wants anyone sent off. No one does. I think we can all agree on that. But if a player like the Reading player on Leah Galton, who made 2 bad challenges, and nothing happens, what do we expect to happen? Deborah makes the point: refereeing decisions are atrocious unless it's a Bruno penalty. Couldn't agree with you more. I only want the 2 penalties tonight, and we'll be fine with that. He'll have a field day breaking down the referees in WSL. Do you know what? I'd have to record Ref Watch every Monday if he did it. It would be comedy value. Jake, I was with you on that, Ian. I joined the unpopular. Oh God, Jake, you just you lose. Yeah, even our own ref has a stinker most matches. Well, but Right, Ian, just because we're going to start winding this up, because there is one other subject I want to get into. In the WSL and Matt, obviously, we have more international breaks than games. That's something that
feels like it's not on.
Yeah, we have to put up with it. Is there any reason why we can't have, a John Moss come down from?
Oh.
No, I'm just using his name. I'm not saying I want a John Moss. A John Moss coming down from the Premier League when the men's games are on international breaks and refereeing a WSL game. Is there any reason why it won't happen?
The only reason I will say that it won't happen is money.
Okay.
At least I wouldn't say you would have to force them to do it. I would say I would ask if they would volunteer, because at the end of the day, international breaks for an official that doesn't get picked for an international fixture by UEFA or FIFA, depending who's doing the appointment, is a week off. And you have to remember that these referees, like the players, are trained during the week, running 90 minutes every week. So to get them to do it continuously, they're going to tire out.
Okay.
They're not as, they're fit, but they're not as fit as, as a Paul Pogba or a Harry Maguire or a Marcus Rashford. They're not. I'm not to keep up with play sometimes.
No, I'm not.
But I don't see why the FA couldn't just say that, look, Women's Football Weekend, when they put it in November in the international window, to say to, Martin Atkinson, who's no longer on the FIFA list, and, Mike Dean.
Get Mike Dean in the WSL.
Oh, God, would you mind doing this? Because some of these referees do referee still at park level.
Yeah.
They do still do that. So I don't see why they wouldn't. But as I said, I think the main thing will be down to money, because the match fees you've got to pay them is substantially more than the match fees they are paying the women's officials.
Okay. Right. We just got one very more quick thing to talk about, because we obviously want to go. Woohoo! International breaks. Go away, Jake. International breaks should be the big. Right. The other thing coming out, and it's a point, the FA Cup. Last weekend, there was supposed to be 18 FA Cup games played. 17 of them were cancelled. And now the FA are saying they may have to decide the winner of these games by a flip of a coin. Right. I mean, seriously, is that what we're at now with the FA Cup?
It's disrespectful.
I'm amazed that somebody actually put that forward as a genuine suggestion without being under the influence of something illegal.
No, true. So my question, no, I agree. So my question to you, because I mean, the game is going to kick off any minute now, so we want to get off. Can either of you seeing the FA Cup going ahead now this season?
I think, considering how much of it there is to go and how the schedule already is, I think it's going to be extremely difficult, particularly when you consider that, with the clubs that are currently involved at this stage, you can't just necessarily stick the games in midweeks like you could with WSL games, because these players have jobs during the week. Yeah. Hopefully they still do at the moment. So I think it would be extremely difficult to fit in, particularly as they now can't play until at the earliest the 20th of February. I can't see how it gets done this season unless you extend the season until the end of June or whatever.
Which we can't do, because you can't do it because of the Olympics.
Well, there you go.
Are we going to... So, Ian, can you see it going ahead quickly?
The FA will do everything they can to get it gone, get it played. And if they means binning and moving league fixtures, that's what they'll do. My gut feeling is they will try and rearrange it as best they can, And if that means moving WSL fixtures to midweek, so you play FA Cup, WSL midweek, then FA Cup, and do it that way, then that is what they will do. But if they go down the drawing of lots and going through a flip of the coin, the FA are going to have a lot to answer for.
Right. We are literally going to wind it up right now, guys. Just going through some of the comments. Marty thinks we should do rock, paper, scissors for it. I think that's a great idea. I don't know how I'd love to see it. John Fry says it's a stupid idea. Whoever said it should be sacked and shot. Okay. Jake says it's the typical FA. How humiliating that must be for the women's players. I completely agree. John Neville, just cancel it this season. It's not going to work yet. Marty agrees with Jake. I think they'll get it done, but it'll move back significantly. Let's not forget, and Jake then makes this point. Let's not forget last season's FA Cup only ended a few weeks back, and that's the other point. Will they?
Sorry to interrupt, Mark, but I think that worked because at the point last season was suspended, the FA Cup was already at the quarter-final stage, so you only had 3 rounds to reschedule, and there was a bit more flexibility. Whereas with this season, you've got 6 or 7 rounds to reschedule.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Anyway, guys, we're at time. The game's kicked off, so I know you both want to go and watch it. Thanks for watching this week's podcast. I'll be back next week with, I don't know who, talking about Everton's game and probably previewing the Chelsea game. As I said at the beginning, if anyone just wants to chat during these times and are unsure, you just want to reach out, send us a DM on Twitter or Instagram, and someone will get back to you. And thanks, guys, for coming on. Take care. Bye.